Hello and welcome back to The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today on this special episode is songwriter and singer, multi-instrumentalist, all-around blue-collar man, the singing mountain, Clayton Ryan.
Hello, good to be here, my friend.
Thank you so much for being here. This is a treat for me, Clayton. I'm a big fan of your work. I know we've met in person just one time, but I'm a big follower on your Instagram and everything that you've been doing. You're a busy man, but before we get into all of that, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Who is Clayton Ryan?
He's a very tall man that likes to holler a whole bunch about his feelings.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, I call it angsty country, man. It's a little bit of country twang, a little bit of teenage angst that I didn't fully get out when I was, an actual teenager. I don't know. What do you want to know? Like how far back we go? And like I was born in Phoenix in 1995, or we.
95. Wow, you are such a young man yet. Shot to the heart. Why don't you start when did you start playing music? Because you're a very accomplished multi-instrumentalist. So let's start where music first kind of really came into your life.
Sure. I think one of the first moments of sentience I encountered in my life was I think I was 4 years old. My mom had an acoustic guitar laying out on the bed, and I remember just plucking some of the strings and wondering what the hell this thing was. And it was that's like I think the origin story when they make my Marvel movie. But I think I started really playing in high school with a bunch of good friends of mine, and we were really into like funk and jazz music and all that. And I made some rock and roll bands, as most young guitar players do. But we, with the funk and jazz band, we got to play a whole bunch around Winterset, Iowa, which is not that impressive of a sentence. It was like, we played the benefit shows and the galas for like the bank and the cattle producers shows, like stuff like that. But that's where I kind of got my first taste of gigging. And fast forward now to 2024, man, I think I've done everything under the sun you could possibly do in music besides like build a guitar myself. And even then I made like a tin can banjo once. It sounded terrible, but I suppose I did it.
Still made it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an attempt, and luthier skills are not in my future yet.
Well, you can't have it all, Clayton. I will speak from experience of being a fan of your music. You are a brilliant songwriter. You have an amazing voice. That big set of lungs that God gave you, you put to good use. And you're an amazing, right. I kind of grew to know you as a bass player. And then I start to hear this music that you're putting out in the last 2 years. And the stuff you did with the Cottonwood Boys really opened my eyes to like, wow, this guy is way more than just a bass player in a band. My introduction to you was actually kind of when you were in the Brandon Jones band. From me being a follower of theirs, I'd kind of been outside of the Black Hills scene as you had come into it. I was freshly out of prison, 2018, and kind of coming back to a place that I hadn't been to in almost 4 years, and even then was a little bit removed. So I come out, all the bands look different. Judd Hoos has a different look. Brandon Jones has a different look. And there's this tall, handsome bass player now. And I was intrigued immediately. And it's been really fun to watch your career progress in just a few short years to where you are now. Can you talk a little bit about, things that you have coming up right now? I mean, it's really the present that is the most exciting about your life, not your past or the future yet to be seen. So let's talk about what's going on right now. What are you working on?
Yeah, man. I have a full album coming out July 18th. I think is our set date here, and it's called Ghost Town. And it is, it's full of these songs that I think all stand really well as separate tracks, which is the way that a majority of folks are going to process it. But it's written to be something where if you got the patience and the time and the gumption, people should sit down with this thing and listen to it. It's like 41 minutes long. And that's a little bit of an ask in the modern age of 15-second brain-melting videos. But I've put everything I got into this album. And, just the team working on it, too, is it's just the most exciting group of friends I've ever been able to do music with, and it's just, man, it's all coming together in the way that I don't know, like this is the first time in my life I've ever had an album that sounded exactly coming out of the speakers like it does in my brain when I first was writing all these tunes. And that's
I love that you just said that, because
efficiency, man.
that's what I have described, and I haven't necessarily had that. Well, I mean, I have had that now. When I listen to Triple Fine, which I had the pleasure of having you collab on me with and playing some parts and singing on, when I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to sound like. Right? You know, like
That's good.
That's what, right.
That's a good
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. It's a great feeling. And your songs are amazing. I sent you a video, earlier before the show, and it was supposed to just be me and our mutual friend, Luke Graves, on our way to the show. And we're just kind of talking about you. And he was talking about the first time he had heard your song Better Man. And I thought it was so funny because, you know, I've had plenty of people over the years be like, oh man, I want to show you my song. You know, I've been in Vegas and in California where guys, you know, on the street, right? Rap guys want you to listen to their track, right?
Sure.
So I've had a lot of experiences listening to wild, you know, music. And he says, you know, you put on Better Man, and I laugh because it's like, imagine somebody being like, hey man, will you like please listen to this song and tell me what you think? And then they put on this masterpiece that is your song Better Man. It's put me to tears almost every time I've listened to it. And yeah, just a crazy thought of how cool it is to be friends with talented people, and the team that you're with now. Can you talk about what Coffee Break Entertainment is, kind of who's involved, and yeah, give us a little introduction, because we're going to be doing a lot of work with them in the scene and with DBS Entertainment. So why don't you give us a little inside scoop on our friends to the north, Coffee Break Entertainment?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll start off with the guys on the record, and they're not Coffee Break lads. They're their own, you know.
Okay, start there.
Omnipotent, independent.
Yeah, talk about all your friends, man.
Man, okay. So I met these young guns up here, and they've all just been really going to bat and being super, I don't know. They've become super good friends of mine, and which is a good thing to make when you move to a new scene. And so we got kind of leading the helm of this thing. It's Isaac Levy, who's a engineer, guitar player, producer up here, and he is just an insanely talented musician, and so he's been kind of manning that along with Bennett V, drumming and doing some engineering on that in the studio. And it's just I mean, these killer players, and this all was put together by my friend Michael Shines, who just, if you want a lesson in how to be a musician and make a full-time living and also be like an amazing sweet dude, then y'all got to spend an afternoon with Mr. Michael Shines. And it's been really cool putting it all together. I'm trying to think who else on the record, man. I'll spill the beans on some of the features. We got my friend Julia DeGrazia is going to be on a full band version of No Return to Sender, just to get, you know, some different voices of other.
I can't wait to hear that.
Oh man, it's gonna be great. She's an absolute sweetheart. She loves that song and messaged me about it, and I was so stoked that when I asked if she wanted to also do the song with me, that she was right on board with it.
Isn't that kind of the beauty of being an independent musician too, that you can work with whoever you want to? I mean, your friends are on it. Like, I mean, the situation that arose, like I said, on Triple Fun, you working together, it was the last time you were in Rapid City. And I was like, this might be the last time. And it probably will be the last time, as I hear some unfortunate news that Cottonwood Studios will probably be moving, right? That you and Tom yourselves might make music together in that room. Right. So
sure.
it was so imperative to me just to capture that moment, you know, and it's like now I feel like I captured Tinkerbell, right? Where I was like, I got you guys, you know, I got the Cottonwood Boys on my song, you know, and how fun for you now to kind of talk about those things. It's so the similarities, right? And that's why this podcast is so fun, is talking with friends in the scene and friends out doing the same thing I'm doing with my band as well, and having that common ground we're all coming from, and tracks that we're all working on together. How fun.
It's certainly more important than like how cool it is to have good friends. I mean, just how cool to just be like a good person, because then you end up making good friends with people that want to see you succeed and they want to be a part of it. And I think we've all worked with enough pains in the industry that when you find people that aren't pains and they're also talented, it kind of brings out the best in you and makes sure that you are, holding up your own end of being a good person. That deal, I mean, that's been like my motto over the last year, is just like be a good person first, because that's what you are at the end of the day. And then sometimes you're lucky enough to also have talented people that want to be around you in addition to that. So
just be a good person. How poignant.
Yeah.
Clayton
Yeah,
Ryan.
I know, right?
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we all went through our phases trying to find out who we are. And
yeah, brother.
And
I was in my 20s once too. It was a long time ago, Clayton. But yeah, we've all been there.
I'll be making these mistakes as long as I live. But you just make them a little less as you get older. So it's that's all I got to say about as far as like the team that's doing it. I mean, it's great. I mean, also Mr. Ryan Little Eagle is going to be playing on one of the tracks as well. And I'm super stoked about that. And he was stoked to be a part of it. The big thing, like him and I got through some serious stuff together, especially, like the pondering of what the hell did we do to make this industry work? Like, how do we do this? Like, this is crazy. Like him and I were heartbroken and lost and burnt out at around the end of last year. And, it just made only sense to have him, especially as he's starting to take off too down south. It made sense to have him on there, and bring a little bit of some earthly Black Hills magic to this album. That, I mean, it's for all intents and purposes, this album Ghost Town is my South Dakota autobiography as an album.
I love it. So Ryan is actually a little teaser here. I don't know if this episode will probably be out afterwards, but he's on our episode 2 of The Scene. And we'll be coming out to play some shows around the area here. And we've been working together and talking. And that's what's fun about, like I said, the podcast, the scene, the community. It was all here, right? I just finally put a name to it, which was the name that anyone would give to it. It's your music scene, right? So to see all the pieces connecting, and they just connect further and further out, and then you start to work with, more and more people, right? So our friend, mutual friend, Alexander Glauvitz with Coffee Break Entertainment, who is working with us now on bringing some of the other talent and I'm sure friends of yours up there down into this area, and starting to cross-pollinate between Minneapolis and the Sioux Falls area, right? And the Black Hills and the Sioux Falls area, and then hoping that we can be the connection that helps both of them jump one step further, right? To kind of just be one more lily pad in the pond of life, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's a lot of good lily pads in this big spread out pond that is the region from like Denver to Minneapolis, where it's just so much desolation with urban centers sprawled throughout it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to talk about Alec and Coffee Break Entertainment just because it's been so simple, and his the way he does things is just so simple. He works directly with musicians to find out what they want. And then he kind of just goes and does that. It's awesome. He is really down for the cause. And I mean, him and I met at a showcase, and we just started like chatting. And like it was like the day after Christmas, and there weren't too many people back in town, but we still had a good time. And we just ended up talking about the industry and talking about what we've been doing and just sharing philosophy on more than just the music and whatnot. And I mean, from there we became instant friends. And then like a few weeks later, maybe it had to be like mid-January. So I was like, hey man, I know you're trying to do some management. I'm looking for a manager that like cares about what I do. And there, it's kind of hard sometimes to find that. So you want to work together? And it's been wonderful since.
To be blunt, we're just looking for a manager who gives a shit.
That's literally how I say it on my 2024 list of things I wanted to do. I said, find a manager who gives a shit about what I do, and I did.
Yep, I do believe you have. Yeah, well, and it's great because there's a lot of different jobs in the scene, and something that I'm very accepting of now, although I do have a career as an artist. my marketing skills, my business acumen. They put me in a position to do more if I kind of spend time working behind the scenes, helping other people, putting the shows on, producing the shows. Like I'm not a promoter. I never say that. Like I'm not trying to get rich off of tickets. I mean, yes, I would like to have some compensation for the time that I'm spending, but I am not a janky promoter trying to steal all the ticket money. Like right now there is no money. Right? Nobody's coming out to these things. So I'm just doing what I can to try and get all of these things up and off the ground, and to start to build some weekly events, bi-weeklies, monthlies, and start to build just more shows, and then to get people used to paying a small cover charge that can support that, right? Which you kind of see more of that in your bigger scenes. You spent years in the Black Hills, right? Playing around in all different levels of the scene. You were in some big bands that were doing big things and traveling. You were in some very small acts. Now you're a very big fish still, but you're a small fish in a very large pond in the Minneapolis area. Can you talk about, being new and kind of going through all of that, as kind of an established artist, right, but new to a scene in Minneapolis there?
Yeah, I mean, and to elaborate even further, I'm a small fish in three big ponds. The way that, because I work in Los Angeles and Nashville, and then now Minneapolis, and so I guess the way that I've gone about doing it, and I didn't do this properly in Los Angeles like I should have when I was actually living there. But you kind of got to set yourself a schedule. Like you have to go to your Google Calendar, and you got to put in what is going on a weekly basis in your town, and you have to go to those things. Like if you want a music scene to survive, you have to have a regular interaction with the same people and the same places where stuff is happening. Like for me up here, there's an open mic I go to most Mondays. There is Alec does his showcases in St. Paul on Tuesdays. Wednesday and Sunday, there's the Minnesota Songwriter Showcase, which is it's an awesome network of songwriters all sharing their stuff for each other and a crowd. Thursday there's open mic, stuff like that. Like you literally have to go find out what is happening regularly, where are people going, and you have to not only go there to perform, but you have to literally go there with the intention of just becoming like a part of that hang. I don't like, I always picture, for some reason in my mind, this is what I picture is like, my mom used to work at a Starbucks, or no, she worked at a Barnes and Noble, and in the cafe in the Starbucks, they had the big old mural of all the art authors hanging out at a table or something. Had Mark Twain and Fitzgerald and all these Steinbeck all hanging out at a table. It's like, you kind of got to live your life like someone's painting that picture of you right now. Because like everyone that you're with in the scene, if you guys stick with it and you build it together, then one day people are like, wow, I can't believe Bubba Starks and Clayton Ryan were hanging out at this songwriter showcase together, and here they are now. Like that's the sort of thing you got to plan when you go out in a new city, is like you have to imagine you're a part of something that's going to be big eventually, and the people that you're surrounded by are also going to be doing that. And then it's pretty easy to be excited about everything everyone's doing and support them and buy their merch, go to their shows. So I guess you have to try and be the reason that everyone else around you succeeds, and then it becomes way cooler than just trying to like build up your own thing. Because like, who cares? Like no one, I mean, how if you get everything you want but you don't have friends and you didn't help and give back, then like who cares? It's my opinion anyway.
Thank you for the scene's mission statement, Clayton.
Yeah, how can you condense all that rambling down to like 2 sentences? That's your task.
Yeah, that's the beauty of production. That's the magic, they say. No, and that's exactly it, right? Where it's like we're all so proud of our friend. Oh man, you made it on the radio, and you do this. It's like, man, anybody can be on the radio. Like we have podcasts. What are we doing that we're not doing? We literally have all the equipment. All of us are recording at home. We all have the equipment to do it. And I listen to a ton of podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for the last 5 years, nearly religiously during the days at work as a welder, right? I'm a blue collar guy too, bud. So I'd throw them in and work my days away. So I'm listening to Rogan, and then I'm, checking out other things and I'm listening to all these different things. So there's a reason that, even this show, even though we're brand new, sounds experienced, right? Because I've been studying. I haven't been just like mindlessly consuming things. The opportunities have arisen. And then once I was in Dave Holly's studio and it was so easy to just sit there and talk with him, I was like, man, I'd love to introduce you to some new music and new musicians. Would you be interested in doing like a little review show? And then once you're kind of in it, you're in it. And that's exactly what you're kind of talking about with you're imagining that you're living the painting, right? Like the painter is painting your life in that story. And it's really fun to be in the middle of it right now, where you're watching all of your friends have these huge wins and you're getting to do all these things together and not to try and build it up to that, but I got to imagine it's what the Laurel Canyon felt like, right? Those moments and Greenwich Village in the 60s and all these pockets, San Francisco, in the Summer of Love and all these like that arose because everybody was just living in it. Right? Nobody was chasing something else. You're just like, we're doing what we want to do. Nobody else is going to do it for us. And that's kind of where I came to it. I saw all these empty rooms out here and I'm like, hey, I would like to bring people to these places. It's going to take some time and some patience on your part, and it's going to take some money. But I think we can find it to build this thing up. And yeah, here we are. We get to talk on the radio, on air, and tell our stories and hopefully bring more people into what we're doing and then spread it all around and just keep doing it, ad nauseum, really.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is you have to imagine that everything and all the friends you're making, all the gigs you're playing, songs you're putting out, you have to imagine that it's part of something bigger at all times. And then that's how you can make any scene, any town have an actual music scene. Like that's, I think what's really cool about the Black Hills is that for the most part, at least most of the people that I was regularly playing with and friends, like there was a serious level of support. Like you finish up your gig in downtown Rapid, say you're playing, Tanner Johns and I are playing the Tinderbox, and then we go walk down to the 445 and see who's playing. And then, oh shoot, someone's at Murphy's too. Like something like that, where it is an event to go out and support your friends. And because I don't know, there's so much talent in the Black Hills and everyone's kind of building it up together. And that's, honestly, what kind of made Rapid City I call it my hometown. I feel like you get to decide that sort of thing because my hometown of Winterset, Iowa, you can't get them to get out of a chair in a burning building, let alone come out to like some sort of music. Like I had a hometown show, quote, like a couple of years ago. And it was sponsored. They did it in the theater. There was ads and all that, and like 15 people came out, and I was like, all right, what, Winterset, whatever. Not that I don't want to diss the town that like raised me, because my friends that were there were awesome.
Right.
But all those friends are gone, so it's like that's kind of what was cool about that town. And Rapid City is like the first place I've gone where people like they go out to support you because they believe, and they're like I feel like Rapid City, South Dakota as a music scene is just like my hometown because of the way that people believed and they go out and like support. You have to believe at all times you are part of something great. And then one day you look back and you're like, wow, I was, or I am. Like, you don't get to know in the moment that you're part of something super cool. Like you get little hints where you're like, okay, guys, all right, I think we got it. Like we could do something with this. And then a couple of years pass and you're like, holy crap, we did it. Like, remember when we all were just playing these bar gigs and whatnot? Now here we are.
And here we are. So my band, I know you're doing some big things, but my band will be playing at the Levitt Amphitheater this year. My band will be, playing at the Icon, which is a step up for us, right? We're getting out of the bar gigs. We just played one last night. Beautiful bar. Really should be a venue. It's called The Den in Sioux Falls. Give them a little shout out. Great spot. But I think, where they're trying to do like the bar band gigs, like, man, you actually have a better space than that. And I think you need a little bit different format to get people to stick around. Like, and I think obligation, right? As a sales guy, I know that if I paid a little bit of money to get in here, I'm going to stick around and watch the whole show because I obligated myself, right? Even if it's a low cover, there's a little bit more resistance there. So yeah, that's kind of trying to build out our scene around here. And everything you're saying, Clayton, is literally why I'm doing and why I'm here. Like that, I feels like my purpose. I quit the blue collar job and left the $50K a year easy money, right? and the security that brings, because I'm being called to do something bigger than myself. And if it requires me to go and just put in a bunch of time right now, well, the money be damned, right? Yes, it will be nice. And obviously the bills have to get paid, but we're really just going after this thing because the momentum is here too. We're feeling it, and maybe it's the eclipse coming tomorrow. I don't know. But I'm really interested to see where we all come out on the other side of it, right? I have a meeting,
yeah.
I have a meeting with, these charitable organizations that have money and have funding available for the type of stuff that we're doing. Like, that's the world that I'm moving into. And you talk about going, from the bar gigs to Tuesday, I have to go to a presentation with 12 people and ask them for $2,500, right? And give them a good reason to give me the money. And it's like, I think we got a good reason, right? I think we got a good act put together. Alec is actually talking about being a part of that show. We've had talks already, right? So it's like, we're bringing in out of town people. We're trying to build something. And we just need a little bit of support, right? So that's really my mission now, is to go find the support for the arts that's out there. I'm searching grants and doing all of it so that we can prop up guys like you, who are the best of us, who are really doing something, that are the artists. And we need to accept sometimes that, hey, man, some of these artists deserve the opportunities that they're getting, right? A phrase we use on this show is it's not competition, it's collaboration, right? It's all about collaboration and building up, and a rising tide raises all ships. And all right, Clayton, well, you got a big week coming up here. April 12th, you're releasing a new song, Wild Man, and you're playing a release show at the Bryant Lake Bowl Theater. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. I'm super stoked to be releasing Wild Man. It's a soulful Motown meets Midwestern kind of country ballad. Little bit of country music, a little bit of Otis Redding. I don't know. I don't like. It's a good song. I'm very happy with how it turned out, and all the mastering and production on it is awesome. It's about being, I don't know. You might relate to this, Bubba. How men, we tend to think that we are the bunch of untamable beasts. Never going to settle down, and then you meet someone that
I have a tamer.
It reminds you that maybe you're not as wild as you thought. I don't know. It's not just. It doesn't just apply for men. Women are like that too. We're like, I'll never be tied down. And some man meets you, and you're like, okay, maybe I will be tied down, and that's okay.
Well, that's awesome. What a great story. Yeah, what a great story for a song. I like it. So you've been releasing some new content on your Instagram surrounding the release as well, too. Did I see you were walking with your dad through a river?
Walking is certainly not the word I would use for us stumbling through a creek in the middle of the Bighorn Mountains. But yeah, that was when was that? That was summer 2023. Pops and I were out there in the Bighorns, and we just pulled off to the side of the road in the mountains there, and there was this rope across the creek, and we're like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's climb across this river. And like a couple wild men, and it's I mean, people seem to like that sort of stuff. They like seeing a little bit about your life. And I like it too, because it means I don't have to make some stupid trend or dance or something,
Right. Well, and you don't. You have some great content, and we're really going to drive our listeners to check a lot of that stuff out. You did a kind of docu-series with Destin Human out in Rapid City. You got a few minutes that you can talk about that process?
Yeah, don't worry. We're destined for more of those too. No pun intended. That was totally unintentional.
My band's name is a play on words on my name. Come on now. We love a good pun here.
Yeah, you're right. So him and I want to do 4 music videos for this album with him. And right now it's just a matter of scheduling and financial timing and all that. But I mean, him and I did some videos a while back about, I call them Mountain Soul, about when I first started doing this. And it's funny, like I'm a pretty different person from when we made those, and the music is a whole lot more different, but it still stands up pretty well. In terms of, just kind of giving people an idea of maybe who I am, who I was, who I might be the rest of my life. I don't know. That's the thing about these. You always got to keep updating your stuff so that people know that you're different than how you were, or that you've grown. Your music's getting better. You're figuring stuff out. So I'm definitely due for a couple more of them.
Well, followers on your Instagram can see you growing daily as a songwriter. Can you tell us what it's like to write a song every day for a year?
Well, I can tell you for sure that I'm slacking, and it's probably no surprise, but things kind of got super busy when the album started rolling. And
How many did you get?
so, well, I'm at 54 right now. I'm gonna get back into it. I have a bunch of them written. It's definitely I'll have 365 songs, so that's like the task at hand, really. Because man, there's just days where I was going to work and then going to the studio, and we get done from the studio at like 10 o'clock at night, and then if I post some video at 10 o'clock at night, no one's going to see it. It's pretty pointless. And then you do enough of those days in a row, and you're like, man, I need to reassess this. And also, I want to start doing them as more full production songs. Like I want the clips that you see to have like the bass and the drums, and have some actual like video behind it.
Well,
And
now
so
you
I'm trying
can
to do it a little bit better.
Yeah, well, now you can expound upon the 50 that you have and just go, hey, this is the evolution of how these songs are coming along. Are any of the songs from the Songwrite a Day going to make the cut for your album, or was that all kind of older music that has been brought to the studio?
Oh no, man. Other than No Return to Sender and Locked Up, Locked Down, everything on the album was written in probably like September onward. Everything was written for this album. And then Wild Man is one of those songs. I think it was day 13 was Wild Man of writing a song. And then there's another one called Please Don't Let Me Die Over a Woman. And that one was day 3. And so those two are from the Songwrite a Day. So, 2 out of 50 ain't bad, to paraphrase Meatloaf.
Yeah, Ted, that's exactly the math that he was doing. But that's I always say that they're kind of the songs are always living and breathing things too. Just because only 2 of them are brought to fruition, fully produced and everything now, doesn't mean that some of them don't have a home somewhere else.
Oh, and that's the fun thing is, like, I know someone that could sing every single one I've done way better than I did. And there's 3 or 4 that are going to be, I'm already plotting the next album, and we'll see how much of these stick around when it's all said and done. But I already have a couple that I think would make it into a really, really cool new album.
Yeah, I save them all because I want to be able to go back when they are on the album, right? And go, hey, there it was. There's day 13, right?
Absolutely.
So how fun. Well, Clayton, I just love you so dang much, man. I love watching your career grow. You're such a great guy. You're definitely succeeding at that part of life and doing great things. And we appreciate you. We appreciate your music. We can't wait to hear the new song Wild Man coming out April 12th. And for our listeners in the Minneapolis area, you can still get tickets. I think it's not quite sold out yet, but it may be by the end of the week. The Bryant Lake Bowl Theater, the release show for Wild Man. Catch Clayton Ryan and friends. You got any friends joining you for the show?
Absolutely.
Full band?
I got a full band.
Oh, baby. God, it's going to be a hot one. You guys got to get, if you are in Minneapolis this weekend, that is this weekend, right? Yeah, that's Friday.
Weekend, yeah.
Wow.
Up.
Yeah, if you're in Minneapolis, go get tickets for this. I'll make sure this episode comes out this week and we'll pump it up. Clayton, I appreciate your time, brother. It's been great talking to you, and yeah, we'll talk again real soon.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, Bubba.
Yep. Bye now.
All right, take care.
Thank you so much for listening and sharing the show. For everything The Scene, go to patreon.com/thescenesd. Follow us on all your social media channels and make sure to make yourself part of The Scene.